everyone, Amina here with the Float Small Business Podcast, speaking with Chrissie Zavicar, who's a marketing and specifically LinkedIn consultant. And we're going to be talking about how businesses, freelancers, and even people job hunting can be thinking about putting themselves out there just a little bit differently. Thanks so much, Chrissie.
Thank you so much for having me.
How are you? Let's start there. How are you doing? And how's business?
Yeah, I am a hardcore extrovert, and the lack of peopling has been very, very difficult for me. And I don't even think I realized how difficult, because, we can talk over technology and we can have conversations and still stay in touch with people, but there is a true tangible energy that is felt between people when you're actually in front of a person.
Are you finding that on the business side, things have slowed down? Have they picked up? Are people contacting you because now's the time to market your business, or is it kind of the same? How's it been?
Since this pandemic, I don't know when it was. I don't know when I decided that I was just done caring about really posting about LinkedIn 101, so to speak. And I just really started posting me. And it's evolved into all sorts of things. And, I post about stress. I post about my kids. I've been posting recently about the Black Lives Matter movement. Just a lot of different things. And a lot of people have said, I really appreciate your authenticity. I appreciate that you're being real. And it's interesting too, because it hasn't slowed down lead generation, and it hasn't changed, my business. If anything, it's gotten better. So,
Wow.
not that that's what everybody should do, but it's what I felt led to do, was just to kind of open up and just be somewhat of a voice about certain things. And it's gone well.
That's great. Well, I feel like any kind of content marketing, whether it's on LinkedIn or it's writing blog posts, whatever it is, if you can put a little bit of yourself out there and your belief system, then you have the potential to nurture relationships with potential clients who don't just like what you have to say about business, but connect with you as a human being. And then if they decide to get in touch with you, then you're on the same footing. There's already confidence that you align and that you're going to be a great fit for each other. Whereas if you don't put any of yourself out there and what you believe, either as a person or as a company, then there's no way of knowing who's going to get in touch with you.
Yeah. So I just wrote a blog post that's entitled Goodbye Shop Talk, Hello Gifts, Yoga, and Ripping on Tinder. Humor is a big part of who I am as a person, and it's something that people relate to. And it's like you connect with humans, and then those humans want to work with you, or they become your cheerleaders and they find other people that want to work with you. And if you turn people off, that's great. You probably didn't want to work with them because you probably wouldn't have gotten along.
Yeah. In the context of this podcast, which is for small businesses that are trying to survive and maybe even thrive as a result of COVID-19, like what advice do you have for people that are trying to bridge the gap between being personal but also selling their product? Because,
100%.
how do you do that?
And I'll tell you right now, I would not suggest any of my clients do what I'm doing. And the thing is too, when you're looking at a consultant, you're really selling you, right? So, I'm selling myself.
Right.
I'm selling myself, and I'm selling that I can create traction on the platform. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm leveraging my personality and who I am and my content generation to create traction on the platform and show that, I can build my own audience. So I'm legit. In terms of small businesses, I actually do work with a restaurant group. And, one of the ways that they've really shown their human side was, they showed that they had to lay off a bunch of their employees, and showing that, they actually asked for fundraising to help the employees that they had to lay off because it was so difficult for them to do. Yeah. We did behind the scenes showing how they were being safe with food handling and social distancing.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a personal, like, let's show the behind the scenes, talking about how much they appreciate the support of the community and the loyalty of the community, because they really rallied around this restaurant group because they cared, and it really showed how much of a connection there was between the community and the restaurant. Being personal is really about saying something of substance and standing behind it, not necessarily having to be like, I'm bearing my soul to everybody on social media. I think people right now are feeling so vulnerable that they're kind of just like, okay, great. You talk to me about how you're vulnerable because I'm feeling vulnerable. I feel like the messaging as a whole has shifted a little bit across the board because everybody's in this together. And there's also so much unrest and there's so much conflict that, I do think that shifting to a more genuine, vulnerable place is necessary. I mean, we all joked about how many this is our COVID-19 response emails were we going to get, weeks after everything hit. And, so it had to get to a point where it's like, okay, let's just see what we're going to settle into and what businesses are going to settle into and offering and messaging and all of that. So I definitely think that we have shifted a little bit to almost wanting to hear more. So,
yeah. Do you ever come across resistance from people, from clients that say, hey, I want to generate more leads. I want to get into the marketing game. And then you make some of these recommendations and they say, oh, no, I can't do that.
Yes, I do. A lot of the time, if I've had some that works out well, where I've had people question, like, why isn't this working? And I will tell, well, this is what I think you should do. And I'd already mentioned that this is what I thought they should do. And they said no. And then the most amazing thing in the world is then when they do what I ask and it works. That's like the greatest thing ever. It depends where they're at. But yeah, it can be a very vulnerable experience just to say you're good at something. Like, we're not even talking about like, oh, I'm relieving my soul of all that I believe. Just to say, yes, I'm good at this, you should hire me, can be terrifying for people.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot at stake there, right? You put that out there and then someone takes you up on it. And now you have to deliver. And so I could see some people that maybe have some of those insecurities not wanting to say that message at all because then they don't have to live up to it, even though they totally can.
Entrepreneurship is one of the biggest personal development journeys you will ever go on. And I mean, I've been in it for almost 6 years, and it will gut you because you have to actually say, okay, this is what I'm offering. And there's no company to hide behind. There's nothing I can say. It's not me. It's this bigger company I work for. It's just me.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, this is what I'm worth. And if you come back and tell me I'm full of it, or I'm not paying that, or this is not what I wanted. And we've all in entrepreneur life had that experience.
Sure. Yeah.
It's awful. And you have to pick yourself up and tell yourself that you actually are worth it. And you have to pivot and make adjustments. And the failures are the greatest growing points, but it's terrifying. Absolutely terrifying.
Yeah. I completely agree, though. It does make you stronger with time. And I don't think that entrepreneurship is for everyone, but I have certainly learned along the way that I'm definitely built for it. Even the stressful parts, even the hardest parts, while in the moment I might not love it, and I'd be like, why did I choose this again? When you come out the other side, you feel kind of like you survived something. And that's how I'm hoping a lot of people are going to feel after all of this, if there is an after. And I'm sure that there will be an after. It might not be exactly the way that it was before, but there will be an after eventually. And I think that if we can hang on and just like keep fighting, and even in those moments that we don't believe, let's surround ourselves even digitally with those people who believe in us, because that's how we're going to get through it.
Yeah, 100%. And one of the coolest things that I've been able to watch from my clients and then others, but even just my clients, is the pivoting that has to happen and the creativity that people have come up with to shift what they're offering to adjust to what's happening in the world. Yeah. And to me, that is so inspiring. I mean, people have, changed, the restaurant group, they ended up cutting it down to 2 restaurants, but they combined their menus and it's curbside and it's all social media generated. And Now they're able to do patio service. People are having to change what they're doing to adjust to the new needs. I mean, you've got,
Mm-hmm.
people that have been in the alcohol business are making hand sanitizer, and people who,
Right.
were making clothing or making face masks. And, I mean, the people who make signs have got to be making a killing right now. I mean, with all the signs and the little stickers that go on the floor that say you got to be six
Yeah.
feet apart. I mean, those businesses have got to be gangbusters at the moment. So, everybody's having to change. And, I
Yeah.
think it's incredibly inspiring to watch.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Well, but it does sound like you have maybe it's not a formula, but it sounds like it's an approach that over time is going to be more successful for you and for people out there. And
Yes,
I
a framework.
yeah, a framework. There you go. Yeah, and I thank you for that because people more than ever need that right now.
I mean, the key is really finding out what works for you. It's got to be custom. But the framework piece of it is, it's gonna be about the same for everybody on LinkedIn, and marketing isn't changing. I
Sure.
mean, people humans aren't changing. So I mean, the key is you buy from people that you like. You buy things that are useful. My three things is you either need to entertain, you need to inspire, or you need to inform.
Well, thank you so much. I'm glad to hear that you're hanging in there and that business is good and that you're continuing to help people.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.